The mechanical bosses are some of the most iconic boss fights in all of Terraria. I remember ages ago when they were the final challenge available in the entire game. These three boss fights are definitely not equal though, and some are definitely worse than others. So I thought it would be a fun question to ask: which mechanical boss in Terraria is truly the worst? Before getting into the bosses, I think we should establish that boss drops aren't going to be a factor here. I think the Twins, Destroyer, and Skeletron Prime have insanely good loot, and it's impossible to say with certainty that any are really better than others in that regard. Souls of Sight can be used to craft the magical harp and optic staff, Souls of Fright are used to craft the flamethrower and naughty present, and Souls of Might can be used to craft the light discs and the mega shark. What really matters when judging these bosses isn't their loot, but rather their gameplay. So with that out of the way, let's get started. I think it's fair to say off rip that the Twins is a phenomenal boss fight and by no means can be considered the worst. I would actually argue that the Twins is one of the best boss fights in the entire game, if not the best. It's the first and only double boss in the game, their attack patterns are super satisfying to dodge, and they pose a real challenge to most players without being overwhelmingly difficult. The pacing of this boss fight is much faster and more intense than Skeletron Prime and the Destroyer, and that's part of the reason I love it so much. There's really no room for you to stand still, you are constantly avoiding attacks, often from different directions. The Twins also scale in difficulty as the fight continues, which isn't something you can really say about the other mech bosses. The longer the fight goes on and the more damage you do, the more aggressive and challenging this battle becomes. Things start to get a lot more intense once either of the Twins enters their second phase. It completely changes the dynamic of the fight. I may be biased when I say this as well, but I think that the Twins has the best soundtrack of any mech boss as well. I know it's not original to the Twins and Wall of Flesh has it as well, but Boss 2 is a fantastic soundtrack. All around, a fantastic boss fight that is nowhere near the worst of the three. The real debate is between Skeletron Prime and the Destroyer. I would argue that both of these bosses are pretty interesting in concept, but also pretty mediocre in execution. The question at the end of the day though is which one of these bosses is worse. So let's start by talking about Skeletron Prime. Skeletron Prime is undoubtedly the best looking mech boss. In fact, I wouldn't say it's unfair to call him the best looking boss in the entire game. It stays true to the original look of Skeletron while also appearing far more menacing. The boss fight in general does a great job at evolving past Skeletron while still feeling fundamentally similar. He still cycles between attacking you with his arms and charging at you while spinning his head. The big difference is that he has twice the amount of arms, more projectiles, and his head does significantly more damage, which is natural because it's a harder boss. While every mech boss does feel somewhat similar to their pre-hard mode counterpart, I think that Skeletron Prime feels the most alike to his predecessor, which is a very good thing. Unfortunately, Skeletron Prime still has a big issue which holds it back from being a great fight. The boss is extremely tanky and slow. While he does have less health than the Destroyer, he's a lot harder to hit and spends most of his time just flying around wasting time. He's a straight up damage sponge in higher difficulties. Even when you know how to dodge his every move, it's a race against the clock to try and kill him before daytime. Bosses that go on forever and stall are never great, and Skeletron Prime is definitely one of those bosses. After you destroy the arms, there's no greater threat. It's a straight up DPS test rather than a boss fight by the end. So by no means is Skeletron Prime a fantastic boss fight, but with that being said, I still think at the end of the day, the Destroyer is a lot worse. The Destroyer is so absurdly simple and easy that I find it hard to believe anybody struggles with the boss at all. There really isn't a lot to talk about when it comes to this guy, and that's sort of the problem. He goes through the ground, occasionally launching up to chase you, and he fires lasers at you constantly. While these lasers do alright damage in higher difficulties, it doesn't even matter since you can recover those hearts very easily from the probes that he sends out. And obviously, the bigger issue is that there are a million ways to cheese this boss. Countless weapons and strategies make this thing a cakewalk, and whether you're good at the game or the worst player in the world, you can defeat this boss very easily by using a good piercing weapon. This fight is really just a giant nothing burger. In my opinion, there is really no substance to the Destroyer as a boss, and as a result, it's very forgettable and mediocre. But hey, what do you think? Do you agree that the Destroyer is the worst mech boss, or do you think it's something else? Make sure to leave your thoughts in the comments. We're getting pretty close to 3K subs as well, so if you enjoy Terraria discussions like this, then please make sure to subscribe, because I'd love to have you here, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.